Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is Augusta Fisher Smallshaw, 1992, Part 1. This was originally published as Smallshaw Family Memories Collection, or SFMC number 9, published on March 30th, 1997. This was based on an interview that I had with my mother's mother, Augusta Fisher Smallshaw, May 9th, 1992, in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. Today is May 9th, 1992, and we are in Regina, Saskatchewan. With us again today is Augusta Smallshaw. Hi, Grandma.
Hi, Peter.
So my first question today, I thought we could talk about your trips, the different trips you've taken, and places you've been. What was the last trip you took?
I think it was Switzerland. Was it 2 years ago?
Something like that. How was that trip?
Wonderful, wonderful. I flew to Toronto. I was there for a few hours, and then I took the plane to Zurich. Delighted to see Peter meet me, because I never would have found my way down to Gstaad. It's a cute little country, but there's not much in the way of cars, mostly trains, just a network of trains. I liked it very much there. I could live there if I had my family around me. Anyway, I had a lovely visit with Peter and his work there. Ruth said I'd be staying in a big building close by. It would be about $80 a night, so I took quite a bit of money with me. They had such comfortable beds, wall beds, feather beds, really comfortable. Ruth and I slept there. Dear Peter slept on the floor. He said he didn't mind at all. So Ruth and I slept in the very comfortable wall beds. I had quite a bit of money because I planned to stay in this big building. So we went out for quite a few meals, didn't we? I like Switzerland very much, and I'm very, very glad that I went there. I'll never go again because I'm 94, and I won't be traveling anymore. I do all my traveling now by watching TV.
Okay, what other trips have you taken that you remember that were fun?
Oh, I've been to England quite a few times. I've been to Vancouver, but I haven't done any traveling lately, and I don't think I'll be doing any more at my age.
Tell me about your trips to Hawaii.
Oh yes, I went to Hawaii twice with my good friend Irene Hood, and they were marvelous, a wonderful experience. We flew to Hawaii and enjoyed the warm weather there, because we went in February. Her husband and my husband George drove us to the airport. It's not very far, only 4 or 5 miles from my home. Irene and I flew to that beautiful, beautiful country. It was in the middle of winter, so cold here. It was just marvelous there. It seems to be such a wonderful experience. You fly for quite a few hours. I couldn't do it now, but I didn't mind it then. To fly for a few hours and to get to such a wonderful climate. We really enjoyed it there. I'd like to go again.
What did you do in Hawaii?
We walked around the sands, beautiful trees, beautiful beaches. When we were leaving, Irene and I took a walk down to the beach and sat under the trees. She said, "Goodbye, beautiful palm trees. Goodbye, beautiful sand. Goodbye, beautiful ocean." It was really quite an experience for me. 2 years later, when we came back, it was surprising. The section where we stayed had changed so much. We sat in a lovely spot and watched the young men surf riding. They go out into the ocean and get on one of those great big waves and go surf riding onto the beach. They had their surf riding boards, a kind of a board. They'd get on this board, balance themselves, and slide on these boards. Irene and I sat in a very nice cafe and watched the fellows surf riding. We really enjoyed it, but we were so disappointed. We went a couple of years afterward in this lovely cafe where we had our pink waffles and maple syrup and stuff had been turned into a gambling place. We didn't enjoy it quite so much the second time. We loved Hawaii so much. If I was younger, I'd like to go again. You have to go with a friend so you have somebody to talk to. Our hotel wasn't many blocks from the shopping center and the dance hall. We'd go to the dance hall and watch them dancing. It was really funny. We went to the shopping center quite late and there was nobody there, just a young fellow. Hawaii is ruled by the United States. The young fellow was a policeman. We were the only ones.
Where were you in Hawaii?
Oahu, that's the only place for landing planes. Have you been, Peter?
No.
You ought to go. Irene and I enjoyed it so much.
What years did you go to Hawaii?
I have a whole album on it. It must have been in the 60s, I guess. We didn't go back because Irene took up a virus and was very, very sick, and John thought he was going to lose her. She'll never travel again.
Where else did you go in Hawaii besides Oahu?
There's a very nice drive you can take, about 20 miles along the coast. We took that drive. It was quite expensive. Anybody that goes there, I'd advise them to take it because it's very pretty. Other than that, you're kind of cramped around the airport.
You stayed the whole time in Oahu then?
Yes.
Did you go swimming in the ocean?
No, I'd like to have done, but Irene was not a swimmer. Oh, yes, I did a little bit, but she was afraid of the water. I took my clothes off. I had my bathing suit under my clothes and I went in swimming.
How was the water?
Lovely. Compared to our water, lovely. Got to get used to it for a few minutes, you know.
Did you meet people there?
Yes, we met some very nice people and had lots of fun with them. I forget their names now. They were from the United States.
How was the food?
Oh, we enjoyed the food. We had 2 rooms with a kitchenette and we made quite a few of our meals. We went to a pancake place there. I was surprised. I thought we'd have some cheap fruit, but it was just about the same price as here.
Did you meet any Hawaiians?
No, we saw a lot of them. Oh, our tour guide was a little Hawaiian. Irene quite fell in love with him. He was quite a personality. Irene said, "Oh, I'd just like to put him in my pocket and take him home with me." He was very personable. He could take us anywhere. He married twice. According to what we heard, I think he loved drinking parties. He'd been to a drinking party on the weekend, and when he took us out, he was all battered up. He was really a good tour guide. Everyone gave him quite a good tip.
What other tropical places have you been to?
Oh, while we were all there in Hawaii, we went to a place about 6 miles north, and it was just alive with colored birds, budgie birds. Some of them are trained to dance and to talk a little bit. It was very interesting.
What's your favorite part of Canada?
Right where I'm living. I love it here on the prairie, right in the middle of Canada. There are 3 prairie provinces: Manitoba, Saskatchewan in the middle, and Alberta. Alberta is a province right at the foot of the Rocky Mountains. I've been here so long it's home. A lot of people hate the prairies because they're dry and cold and windy. An awful lot in life is what you get used to.
So Regina's your favorite city in Canada?
Yeah, I've been here so long I couldn't feel at home anywhere else.
Do you resent the power of Ontario and Quebec over Saskatchewan?
Not really. Although they've got the power, they've also got the responsibility.
What do you think about Toronto?
Toronto is our biggest city. There's more people there, more crime. Ontario is good.
Do you like Winnipeg?
Yeah, I was married in Winnipeg. I went to business college here in Regina, and after I got pretty proficient in my shorthand and typing, I thought I'd try another city. I went to Winnipeg and worked there. George Smallshaw came. I was pretty happy to see him because I had a lot of friends in Regina. Wherever I go, I seem to have the ability to accumulate friends. When I got to Winnipeg, I really missed my friends in Regina. Then George came to Winnipeg and we got married there and lived there for a few years. And then life took us here and there. George edited a newspaper in a small town south of Regina called Yellowgrass. He had the Yellowgrass Herald newspaper there. When we were in Winnipeg, he said his folks lived in Estevan, which is close to Yellowgrass, and only 20 miles from the North Dakota border. We lived there for a while. I was expecting a baby by that time. My husband's mother was a wonderful woman. She was ever so good to me. She was better to me than my own mother. It was down there my baby was born. That was Ruth.
Do you like Ottawa?
I've never lived in Ottawa. It's supposed to be beautiful there.
Do you like Saskatoon?
Saskatoon's supposed to be a better city than Regina, but I've never lived there. Ruth went to university there. It's right on the Saskatchewan River. It's a beautiful situation. Ruth said it's a better city than Regina, but I've never let anybody say that. I'm very loyal to Regina.
Do you like Prince Albert?
They say Prince Albert is a very nice city. I've never lived there, so I can't say much about Prince Albert. It's farther north, so it's a bit colder. People that live there think that Prince Albert is just it.
Do you like Calgary?
I've been to Calgary and stayed there overnight. Irene and I used to take trips. She said,
"Here's a catalog with all different kinds of trips that we can take."
We had the money at that time. Trips weren't as expensive. She said,
"You choose a trip that you'd like us to take, and I'll go along with it."
So I looked at all these trips that we could take. The one I chose had 4 different ways of traveling, by bus, train, flying, and boat. I chose that trip. We went to Calgary. We met in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, and we flew to Inuvik, close to the coast.
Wasn't Janet with you?
Irene Hood was supposed to go with me, but she took a virus, and she vomited and had diarrhea, and she couldn't go. She was sick for about 6 weeks. She hoped to get better. Her husband phoned me and said,
"Irene'll never be able to travel. You better take her ticket and get somebody to go with you."
It was only about a week before we were supposed to leave. I phoned 6 friends. One had just gotten back from Ireland, and one said she couldn't afford it. On and on like that. Janet had just finished high school. She had just gotten back from a week in Ireland and a week in London. She said yes, she'd come with Grandma, so she came. Janet went with me.
Do you like the Rocky Mountains?
Oh, they're beautiful. They're awesome. But I must tell you about our tour guide on this trip. All of the people on the trip were senior citizens except Janet. The tour guide was only 22. By golly, if he didn't fall in love with Janet and propose to her. Janet liked him. I might as well have gone alone because Janet and Richard Hay were together all the time, and I didn't have any companions, so I missed Irene Hood. That was our trip there. It was really lovely.
So you like it up in Banff and Lake Louise?
Very much. Everybody should go to Banff and Lake Louise. I walked around Lake Louise. What a beautiful, beautiful spot it is. I took the mountain lift and went to the top of the hill overlooking Banff. You've been, Peter?
I've been to Banff, but not the lift.
You can see the scenery for miles. It's quite an experience, except at the top of the hill it was windy and cold. Ha ha ha.
Have you been to Jasper?
Jasper National Park. Just went through it. Never stayed there.
How about Lake O'Hara?
Where's that?
That's somewhere near Banff, I think.
No, I haven't been there. During the Ice Age, the ice over Saskatchewan was a mile high. When it melted, that made the Great Lakes.
What do you think about the separation of Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson?
Oh, I think that's very sad because they're both such personable people. Whose fault was it? I like them both very much. She certainly has a mind of her own.
Have you heard about the Rodney King trial and rioting in Los Angeles?
No, tell me about it.
Well, there were some white policemen who beat up a black man.
Oh, I saw that on TV. They had a case about it and they said, not guilty. That made the black people terrifically angry. They shouldn't have done that. I saw them beating that guy on TV.
Are you still interested in politics?
Not really. I'm not a politician. My husband was. He talked politics morning, noon, and night. I just listened.
Did you hear about the latest budget for Saskatchewan that was passed?
Terrible.
Do you disagree with it?
Well, I don't see how they can spend so much money and then make us pay such high taxes. Terrible.
There's a very high provincial deficit right now.
Yeah, it's the people that are running the country. Terrible.
How's Brian Mulroney doing?
He's He's having a good time, taking trips all over the world. Always has that supercilious grin on his face. I'd like to knock it off. Ha ha ha.
So, do you read the newspapers?
From beginning to end.
Have you seen anything in the newspapers recently that was interesting?
Everything. Ruth laughed at me when she was here because she doesn't look at the Cleveland newspaper. I take the leader post. I read Dear Abby and horoscopes and the funnies. I read all the headlines and anything I'm interested in. I read the whole thing. Ruth doesn't take much interest in the Cleveland newspapers. She thought it was a scream the way I went through the paper. Ha ha ha.
Now we're in your home here on 1251 Argyle Street,
Regina, Saskatchewan.
Why don't you describe for the readers your home, inside and out?
My home is a 5-room bungalow, and I've been here for 45 years. We've owned it for many, many years. It's a lot more economical for me to live here and get men to come and do the work like shoveling snow and look after the lawn and dig my garden, keep my garage swept out and my car cleaned. I have a little Volkswagen Rabbit car that I drive to get my groceries. I'm very comfortable here, very self-satisfied.
How about the furnishings, the decorations? Can you describe the interior design?
I have the whole sunroom, front room, and dining room all decorated not long ago. It's quite expensive, but it's quite nice, isn't it, Peter?
Yes. What did they do? How did they change it?
They put in a rough stucco and it's all white.
What are things like down in the basement?
Have you been down my basement? What do you think of it down there? I was going to have a rumpus room down there. Bud made himself a bedroom. When he had his boyfriends over, they'd go down there and have a whale of a time. Then he got married and George passed away, so I never had it made up as a rumpus room. There was no need for it.
Do you think your house is organized?
My house? Very.
Organized?
Yep.
Do you have a lot of piles of things around, or do you have a lot of papers?
No. I have a big box, and as the papers come, I read them and I drop it in this box. When the box gets full, I have no piles of newspapers around at all. I have a lady friend who takes them to be recycled, so I don't have any papers around.
To be continued. Well, that concludes today's presentation, Augusta Fisher Smallshaw, 1992, Part 1. Good luck to you with your efforts in family history. If this interests you, finding, preserving, and sharing old letters, diaries, and photographs, and interviewing elderly relatives while they're alive. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.